one of the weapons to Telford. The three of them, the lanky Brandon, the cranky Telford, and Mitchell, moved behind the vehicle and spread out along the highway. Mitchell took the center of the road, Brandon stood to his right, and Telford edged to his left. "Maybe it's one of ours," Telford said hopefully. "It probably is," Mitchell stated. "Nobody else uses these roads," Brandon mentioned. The noise of the approaching truck grew louder and louder. A black speck appeared on the horizon, then grew larger and took on a distinct form as the vehicle drew nearer. Brandon recognized it first. "It's a troop transport," he exclaimed in relief. "It's one of ours." "I wonder what it's doing way out here," Mitchell speculated aloud. He knew the troop transport wasn't part of the special force sent to eliminate the detested family. Their jeep had been the only vehicle to suffer a breakdown, and the remainder of the convoy would be miles ahead of them by now. Maybe the transport had been sent to join the expedition. Then again, it really didn't matter. At least the occupants would be friendly, fellow members of the armies of the civilized zone. Soon, Mitchell mentally told himself, the family would learn an important lesson. It wasn't smart to mess with the civilized zone. 100 years after the horrors of World War III, the civilized zone embraced what was left of the former United States of America. During and after the nuclear conflict, the government had evacuated thousands upon thousands of citizens into the Midwest and the Rocky Mountain region. Martial law had been declared, and the once proud people of the United States had found themselves living under a military dictatorship. The former states of Kansas, Nebraska, Colorado, New Mexico, most of Wyoming, eastern Arizona, and Oklahoma, the northern half of Texas, and most of Montana had been incorporated into the civilized zone and were currently ruled with an iron fist by Samuel II. His father, a man named Samuel Hyde, had been the Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare at the outbreak of the war. He was attending a speaking engagement in Denver when the war broke out and assumed the reins of government after the president, the rest of the cabinet, Congress, and the Supreme Court had been obliterated in a preemptive strike on Washington, D.C. The troop transport was barreling toward the jeep. Telford lowered his M16 and scratched the stubble on his pointed chin. "I hope they've got a drink with them," he remarked. "You know we're not allowed to drink on duty," Brandon reminded him. Telford deliberately belched. "Who's gonna know?" he demanded. "The captain and Brutus are way up the road, and Sammy's probably playing with himself back in Denver." "Don't you have any respect for your superiors?" Mitchell inquired, peeved as always by Telford's abysmal lack of decorum. "Of course I do," Telford retorted, snickering, "when they're within earshot." Mitchell decided to ignore him and concentrated on the rapidly approaching truck. He found himself reviewing the sequence of events leading up to his present situation. A century after the war, Samuel II had decided the time was ripe to commence reconquering the territory outside the civilized zone. His forces defeated the Flathead Indians at Kalispell, Montana, and then prepared to attack a large company of superb horsemen known as the Cavalry, based in South Dakota. Before the assault could be launched, and while the army was in the process of assembling its tactical units at Cheyenne, Wyoming, for the big drive into neighboring South Dakota, something unthinkable happened. Someone used a thermonuclear device on Cheyenne. Samuel II was furious, and so was Samuel's associate, a brilliant scientist known as the Doctor. The Doctor suspected that a small clan known as the Family was responsible for the nuking of Cheyenne. Without advising Samuel II, the Doctor dispatched 2,000 soldiers, the majority of whom had been en route to Cheyenne when it was struck, to the family's compound in Minnesota. This 30-acre compound, called the Home by the family, was situated in northwestern Minnesota. Under the command of Captain Luther and Brutus, the Special Force had one mission only: to raze the home to the ground. The troop transport was 40 yards from the jeep and beginning to break. "Maybe the truck is carrying munitions," Brandon guessed. By the time it was 20 yards out, the truck had slowed to a crawl. "I'll bet the driver's as surprised to see us as we are to see him," Telford commented. Mitchell attempted to see the driver, but the truck's windshield was caked with dirt and grime. He could distinguish nothing more than a blurred form behind the steering wheel. The troop transport